Good morning, everybody. I am coming on with an energy that is both exciting to me and scary to me. So something that people who are close to me know that I talk about a lot is like my big aubergine energy as a projector. And I think for a lot of my life, I either didn't know that I had such a powerful aubergine, or once I discovered that I did have a powerful aubergine energy, I've had to work through a lot of, let's say, fear or resistance to how powerfully I get to own that aubergine energy and stand in it. And I feel like I'm being given a kind of accelerated upgrade in owning my power at the moment, and it feels really good. It feels like a real coming home, a deeper coming home to who I am and what I'm here to transmit. And I said to myself this morning, imagine if I came on this live with the energy of knowing this is the last transmission that I'm ever going to make on planet Earth. Like, how would I speak differently? How would I hold my power in a more visible way? And so this is the energy that I'm intending to bring through this morning and to speak to you in a more penetrating way than I perhaps have done up till this point in time. So I am a huge fan of the spiritual community. Sometimes the spiritual community gets a bad name, but I am a massive fucking fan. I am team all of us who are coming into our gifts at this time on planet Earth. I've got so many friends in my life. I'm so blessed to have so many friends in my life who have come so fully into their gifts, particularly since the lockdown, so particularly since around 2020. I've got a friend who's really stepped up doing tantric work for couples all over the world, who I met in Costa Rica in the jungle in 2020, who hadn't even done the training then. I've got friends who've stepped up to run Reiki masters and 6-month deep dive, transformational containers in their own right, and friends who've stepped into their shamanic gifts in the last few years and are really leading the most powerful vocal activation workshops. And it's just incredible to me to see how many of us are stepping onto this path and doing what we actually came here to do. So I love the spiritual community. I am all for it, and it's really an honor to be part of it. And one of the things that I find is most frustrating to my soul is to see how few of the leaders in our communities, in our spiritual communities, possess high-level conscious communication skills. This is a major fucking skill gap in our community. And I'm just going to name that skill gap because it's glaring at this point to me. And I think a lot of us look at the world leaders, right? We look at the people in power, quote unquote, and we're horrified at the misuse of that power, right? And we're horrified by the way the so-called world leaders handle conflict. Understandably so. Horrified. And so here we are in our spiritual communities wanting to create new paradigms, right? Wanting to create new ways of doing things. And one of the fundamental skills that requires is having really fucking solid conscious communication skills. And I will go as far as to say that I have rarely been in spaces as a participant when I've done trainings where the facilitators have been able to hold it well if a participant becomes triggered about something, if somebody on the course hits like an inner child wound in one of the trainings. Like, I have been the recipient in spaces over the years where really intense wounding has come up for clients, participants, and the facilitator has very clearly been out of their depth with how to handle that. And to me, it's not like a luxury to learn the skills to hold these things. It's an obligation. It's like trying to be a pilot without, passing your flying hours or whatever, it's like a prerequisite. And I think the problem is that we weren't taught how to practice conscious communication at school. We definitely didn't see it modeled in our families. And so most people haven't acquired those skills. And so what's happening now within the spiritual community is that people are stepping up to share their gifts, which is incredible. So people are stepping up to share their shamanic healing gifts. People are stepping up to teach, tantric massage and de-armoring programs. People are stepping up to do all kinds of things, which is incredible. But oftentimes, the glaring missing piece is the intelligence, the emotional intelligence and the emotional awareness to hold space for the emotional things that come up for clients within the coach-client or space holder-client relationship dynamic, right? And I know myself, there's just absolutely no way that I could feel safe to do the work that I do if I didn't have the skills that I've developed in this field, right? So let me perhaps outline for you the difference in terms of impact and outcome between choosing to develop these skills and choosing to continue to practice without them, right? And I want you to check in with yourself, like, where are my standards? Like, what type of space holder do I want to be? Do I want to be the type of space holder that when difficult things show up with clients, I, place the onus on them for not being involved enough and remove them or block them or disengage? Or do I want to be the type of facilitator that can hold that, move through that, alchemize that, and strengthen my relationships with my clients through this skill set? So I'll give you an example. So it happened to me last year that a client on one of my Tantra programs had a really strong reaction around a particular structure that we were proposing in terms of her perception of her options of how she could do that structure, right? This caused a really strong reaction for this client to the point where she felt to leave the room, go for a walk, cool down, come back later. So because I've got really fucking strong emotional intelligence and people skills, although that was a challenging situation for me, I knew how to handle it with skill. So I knew that in the moment, I had to let that client leave the space, have her walk and go through the process that she needed to do to be able to calm down a little bit and come back into the space. So I gave her the space to do that. When she came back in the room to express how she felt about the way the structure was presented, I was able to empathize and relate to the trigger that was coming up for her. In other words, not disregarding it, not mitigating it, simply holding space for it and allowing her to express it. I then had the skills and the straight spine piece in place to reiterate my rationale for doing it the way that I was doing it. So in other words, I didn't shrink myself because of the response that she was having, and I didn't disregard her response either. That is a very nuanced skill that I don't think many facilitators have got that skill yet, right? So because I was able to like hold space for her reaction without making her reaction in any way wrong, that helped her triggering level to come down really quickly. Because I was able to keep my straight spine as far as, you know, reiterating my rationale for setting it up the way I'd set it up, that helped her to see me as a safe space holder, because I have a clear rationale for what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And then I was able to reintegrate her into the next exercise that we were doing. And by the afternoon, there was absolutely no remaining trace of any issue because we'd cleared it out of the field. So we were able to resume the afternoon exercises with the client reintegrated into the space. And she had a wonderful afternoon. And we had a massive hug at the end, and she was like, "Thank you so much. Today's been really powerful. It was really powerful for me to leave the space for the structure that I didn't feel to participate in. It felt really good to come back in. The afternoon was delicious. I love you." Boom. Boom. This is 5D facilitating. It's a very high level of facilitating because it allows everything to be valid in the space without making anyone else wrong, whilst also maintaining your leadership. So when you develop the skills to do that, instead of client relationships breaking down, instead of clients speaking negatively about you to other participants, instead of the client never choosing to work with you again or whatever, instead of you going home like feeling absolutely broken because you held it together all day and now you're just like crying, distraught because it was so traumatic. Now, yes, it's tricky. Yes, it's not easy, but now you've got the skills to move through it, both in your heart and your straight spine piece. And this is where coach-client relationships elevate from mediocre to good to outstanding. And time again, I see relationships within our communities breaking down between space holders and participants or between co-facilitators because this level of conscious relationship skill set is not yet in place. And it's vital. It's vital. So that's an example within the context of, you know, professional leadership, how key it is to develop these kind of skills. And both in terms of like personal relationships as well. You know, the person that I am in an intimate relationship with, you know, we were connected with one another, you know, 10 years ago, and then we lost the connection, and then we reestablished it in 2024. And when we first reestablished our romantic connection, it felt like really high stakes poker, you know, for both of us. It felt really edgy to come back into relationship with each other and to explore it again and to see what shifted, you know, since we were previously connected. So it was risky, it was brave, it was courageous, it was scary. And my default was to say to her, you know, we really need to practice conscious communication. I really feel like it needs to be an essential part of how we conduct ourselves in this relationship moving forwards. Like, how about, you know, every couple of weeks we sit down and we do Tell Me Who Is In as a practice, so we can both have like a safe space to check in about our emotions and what's coming up. So I had a need, let's say, for that structure to be in place within our relationship to feel safe. But because I was kind of like presenting that to her in a kind of like rigid way, that was not feeling like a yes for her. And so what I had to do was I had to double down on my emotional intelligence, and I had to be like, okay, so if I know that conscious relating and conscious communication is vital to me in order for me to feel safe to explore this relationship deeper, and if I know that for her, doing that in quite a regimented way feels like a no, then how do I find a way that works for me, for you, for us, so that I'm not compromising my need for conscious relating to be woven into the fabric of our relationship, but I'm figuring out a way to do it with this particular person in a way that's going to work well for her. And so what works a lot better for her is when it feels spontaneous that we talk about our relationship dynamics, when it feels like something's come up that needs, you know, a deeper conversation, then she can feel the energy of that, and it feels like, yes, let's meet, let's have a walk, let's talk. But what I also realized for her is that when I present ways of doing conscious relating that feel like a game to her, or feel like there's a ritual around it, where it feels unpressured, but it feels like a leaned back way for her to explore parts of her own psyche or parts of her own emotional landscape, now she's like all over it. So if I propose something, she's like, yes, I really want to do that game. I really want to do that game. And so a few weeks ago when we met up, we were, you know, there were some things we needed to talk about around a trip, a dance training that were going on in Italy in a few weeks. There was a lot of like fear and anxiety for her around going away together for the first time, especially doing such a deep program together. And there was some like wounding coming up for me as well from past relationships that I could sense there was a danger that I would project onto this relationship if I didn't speak it. And so I came up with this like really cool structure for a game that we could play to kind of give each other space to explore somatically as well as verbally what was coming up for us around this trip to Italy. And she loved that game so much that afterwards she was like beaming from ear to ear, and she was like, thank you so much for this, for inventing this game for me, because she felt so seen by me that I could see her like seal mermaid energy, needing something playful, needing some playful waters to like explore in, that felt like play to her very pure soul. And so the outcome of finding more innovative ways to practice conscious relating with her is that when I spoke to her yesterday and I said, how are you feeling now about the Italy trip? She was like, yeah, I just feel really excited. I can't wait. Like the anxiety is completely gone. So this is the power of developing conscious relating skills in your personal relationships, your intimate relationships, and your professional relationships. Like it changes everything. It's the difference between me and her you know, burying our anxious thoughts about going away together for fear of, like, you know, lowering the vibe, or like not appearing to be excited when we should be, you know? And so when we squash how we're really feeling, or we don't give our partner the opportunity to express how they're really feeling about going away together or whatever it may be, because we're afraid of the answer, what happens is that the energetic field between you and them gets really cloudy, right? And you feel estranged from them. You feel like there's something in the field that's keeping you out of heart resonance with them when you don't speak and you don't create these rituals to open the heart deeper. So it absolutely blows my mind that more people who know that I am a portal for like shifting from 3D to 5D relationship templates, it absolutely astounds me that more people don't say to me, Laura, fucking sign me up. Like, I want to learn to shift my relationships into this frequency. Yeah. And I've had 3 people this week alone talking to me about their mothers. Middle-aged women talking to me about their mothers controlling them, or giving them the silent treatment, or being off with them when they don't meet their mother's needs, right? I've had 3 people talking to me about that this week. And last year, one of my clients who took the full Goddess Ascension program with me, I remember she'd had a very sort of, her relationship with her mother had been very manipulative as well, as in the mother would emotionally guilt my client if my client didn't meet her mother's every need. And I remember last year my client saying to me, like, oh my God, for the first time, I've told my mum that I'm not going to be going round to her house on Sunday for a roast. And my mum was absolutely fine. Like, she didn't kick off. She didn't try and guilt me. She was just like, yeah, great, that's fine. I'll see you next time. And my client was going, oh my God, that's never happened, ever. She always goes for emotional manipulation to get me to do what she wants. She's like, I can't believe it. It's like a different woman. And I said to my client, because you have transcended your availability for emotional manipulation, therefore emotional manipulation is no longer showing up in your field. It's actually very simple. Although it seems hard, it seems complicated, because oftentimes when we've been trapped in, you know, transactional relationship dynamics with our parents or with our siblings or with our friends forever, it's almost like you've never breathed fresh air. Like, you've never experienced what it's like to not be in those type of manipulative dynamics. But I'm telling you that there is a place where those relationship dynamics, those transactional dynamics, they simply dissolve from your life because you've chosen to ascend the template from which you are operating. Right? I was talking to a lady yesterday in America and she said to me, you know, Laura, I'm so drawn to do your conscious relating program, but, you know, it's expensive. So, yeah, I don't think I can do it. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. These codes are not cheap. These codes are not cheap because the depth of the transformation is not cheap. the depth of the transformation is utterly life-changing. You will see every single relationship in your life ascend to a template of authenticity, of transparency, of respect, of moving through conflict in a way that creates deeper intimacy and deeper levels of trust, as opposed to freezing people out, disconnecting from people, friendships dissolving, client relationships imploding. Like, all of these things can be avoided or at least drastically minimized when you upskill yourself. It's exactly the same as, like, you know, you wouldn't expect to be brilliant at horse riding or scuba diving if you'd never had any lessons in it, right? You've never had any lessons in conscious relating. No one's given you any lessons in it. And that's why, time and time again, in every relationship in your life, there's problems. Let's be real. Your relationship with your partner is problematic because you're still dodging a lot of conversations that feel too difficult to go there. So you settle for like some kind of trivial, keeping everything on a surface level of interaction to avoid looking at the deeper things that relationship is actually inviting you to move through. Or you continue to be on the receiving end of your mother's outbursts and emotional backlash because you've not transcended the transactional template with your own mother, even though you might be in your mid-40s at this point in time. And so a lot of people on this planet are suffering unnecessarily and are seeing so many relationships never reaching the level of like intimacy and depth and fulfillment and growth and expansion that they could. And this is really, really sad to me and frustrating. I don't get it. I don't get why this is not seen as a priority to invest in this for more people. These skills, these conscious relating skills, if you think about it, if I asked you what causes you the most upset in your life, what causes you the most turmoil, what causes you the most pain, it's relationships. I had a lady on the phone recently who'd had a difficult conversation with a client on the phone, and it had been affecting her day and night for weeks after that difficult conversation. Because these things cut deep. So if you think about the amount of emotional bandwidth it takes up to be dwelling in the pain point of all these relationship triggers that keep showing up for you, why wouldn't you invest in shifting that so that your relationships are no longer primarily based on surface level interactions or wounding projections that keep going round on a loop, but your relationship dynamics get to shift to very joyful dynamics, very, multi-dimensional, tantric, expanding, creative, project, driven. Like with the people in my life, most of our conversations are around things we're going to create together, developing the love, heightening the love frequency and amplifying it in the world. Because once you've found that within yourself and you've found a select number of other people that are relating in a more expanded 5D way, everything becomes a lot more joyful, a lot more playful. And learning how to do repair and learning how to move through challenges in relationships and daring to have difficult conversations. These are the skills that I'm here to teach you. If you have decided that it's a priority for you to have the best quality relationships that you can possibly have while you're on planet Earth, in relationship with people, whether we like it or not. So why not shift to a template where relationships primarily feel joyful and emotionally safe and creative and freeing? So the art of conscious relating, 12-week, 5-day immersion with me begins tomorrow, 10 o'clock on Zoom, where we shall be beginning with the art of sacred boundaries. Because until you know how to say a clean yes and a clean no to life, to love, to the universe, and to the people in your life, there's no foundation. There's no foundation for expanding your relationships. It starts with you developing a very clear and very clean yes and no to life. So it's 12 weeks. We start with sacred boundaries. We meet in my private Zoom space on a Thursday morning at 10 and on a Sunday morning at 10. Then we move to a seat at the table to get squeaky clean on who belongs in your queendom, in what position and why. And then we move to the art of conscious relating, so that you can get to see the miracle of every relationship in your life transforming before your very eyes. I am a very powerful conduit for 5D ascension work. I am here now in this human form, making it possible for you to make this quantum leap. It's a full software upgrade. It goes way deeper than me just speaking to you. It recodes the very cells in your body to a relational template which has the power to change the world. And the question is, are you willing to play your part in this global shift from 3D to 5D relating? And if you are, then you can message me today and tell me that you're ready to step up. And I will celebrate you with every cell in my body. Because nothing brings me more joy than when a woman says to me, Laura, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to transcend. I usually do a dance to celebrate each individual woman who says yes. And I send her the video of me celebrating her with my dance. The angels rejoice. The angels rejoice when you say yes to this. Because this is how we change the world together. I love you. If you've stayed with me till the end, thank you. The gates open tomorrow. Aho.